Hi, my name is Steve Walker from Promise Money, and today I'm going to talk briefly about expat mortgages. So if you live abroad but you want to invest in property in the UK, there are reasons why you should, and there's a few other considerations. So I'm going to very quickly just take you through those. So reasons why you might want to own property in the UK whilst you're living pretty much full-time abroad. Well, one of the obvious reasons is it's going to give you income. So provided you've got the deposit and you get your numbers right, you've got some income that's going to be generated which could support you living abroad. Secondly, capital appreciation, that's always a good thing. So properties always have gone up in the long term, so you can expect capital appreciation. Often people who are expats, not necessarily retired abroad, but maybe living abroad, buy properties back in the UK because they want somewhere to come back to at some point in the future. They may have sold their property, they want to invest that money wisely in property and have it ticking away in the background. So there's lots of good reasons why you might want to invest and have an expat mortgage to buy a property. It's probably even more prevalent if people are getting on in years and they're retiring abroad, but often these people have less need for a mortgage because they might be selling a property and don't come back. So we're generating income, we're getting capital appreciation, and despite the anti-landlord regime that seems to be in place at the moment, the landlords are getting a bit of a bashing from a legislative point of view. Demand is still high. We have supply and demand at play, and the demand outstrips supply. So even with mortgage rates going up, rental yields are also going up. Now, where they go up and whether they'll keep pace with mortgage rates is another matter, because you do see some you do see some geographical bias towards that, and there's some areas of the country where it's keeping up well, others where not quite so well, such as the Midlands. But you've still got this matter of demand, supply and demand, which is keeping yields high. But I want to talk about now just some of the cons, some of the things to think about. The first and obvious one is if you're an expat and you're looking to buy a property with a mortgage, then you're going to have less choice of mortgage. There are less lenders doing expat mortgages. Less choice means you might need a bigger deposit, or you might have to pay a slightly higher rate. So you have to factor that into it as well. The other thing is that some expats might struggle proving income in the UK. That can be difficult. That can impact on which lenders will or won't support your plans. So proving income in the UK is quite important if you can do so. Another thing is having a credit footprint in the UK. It's ever so easy for somebody as an expat to leave the country, go away and forget all about the UK, then come back and expect to be welcomed with open arms by the lenders, and they're going to say, who are you? We can see we've got no idea what your credit is like, therefore we're not going to lend to you. Having no credit is actually worse potentially than having bad credit. So there are lenders that will lend to expats that have got credit problems in the UK because they can see it, so they can price for it, and they can they can assess the risk. If there's no credit footprint at all, then that can be an even bigger challenge. Other things to think about, if you're living abroad, you'll have got used to the regime over there. It might be different to the regime over here, so you've got to get used to a totally new regime over here from a tax point of view. From a legal point of view, you might have to brush up on that. All of that can lead to increased costs and uncertainty as well, because if you're not sure of what you're doing, because you're in a different country, that can have an effect on your costs. Another factor is your local knowledge. You have knowledge of the place that you live and the places around you, but if you're out of the UK for a long term, you might lose track of some of the microeconomics. The fact that you've seen a property and it looks great on paper, but it's just around the corner from the worst council estate in the county, and that drags it down. So there's microeconomics and factors that can actually shoot you in the foot. You need to do your research. You have to be really solid on your research of where you're buying. Other factors: people. Who do you trust? If you're out of the country, who's going to look after the property for you when something goes wrong? You might have a local managing agent. Do you trust them not to rip you off? If they're in the UK, they ought to be okay, probably better than the ones that you might have abroad. But if you've got family over here, that is a good way of protecting your assets as well. Other cost-related matters: exchange rates. If you're taking money from here over to somewhere abroad, you've got exchange rates and fluctuations to think about, and the same if you're moving money from there as a deposit over here, so you need to take those things into consideration. A really important factor is the fact that a property investment, unlike others, is not a liquid asset. It's quite immovable, so disposing of it quickly is difficult. It's difficult doing it if you're here in the UK, it's your main residence, you're on site, you can do viewings, you can go and see the agents, you put pressure on people. But if you're in a different country, disposing of that asset will be even more difficult, and that again comes back to who's working with you, who's working for you, and who do you trust, and have they definitely got your interests at heart, or are they after just a quick sale so that they can make their commission and move on? So that's another factor that's quite important. And then again, costs of repairs. If you've got a local tradesman and you live locally, you know who you're dealing with. If it's done remotely, cost of repairs can cost you more. If you're going to rely on the agent, chances are they're putting a margin on it as well. So there's a whole load of factors that go into this, and I put them all under the umbrella of there's a lot of uncertainty there. But if you can get past that, if you can come up with routines and regimes to help you manage all of those points, then owning a property whilst you're living abroad, owning a property in the UK, is a good solid investment, because the way the property market generally goes on the longer term, and the fact that it's going to give you somewhere to come back to, and the fact it's going to give you a footprint in the UK, and the fact that you might have family in the UK who can support you, or maybe at some point might even take over the property. I'm not telling you this to put you off as an expat from buying property in the UK, but those are the things to think about. And then the other important thing to think about, which I touched on at the beginning, is if you're going to have to raise a mortgage, then you need to talk to somebody who's got experience with expat mortgages. And that's experience not just in doing the mortgages, but in the whole market, because there are lenders that will do expat. And as in all things, you've got those lenders who've got their heads above the parapet and they go, yeah, we're great, fantastic. Your high street lenders make a lot of noise and shout about how great they are. But then there's a few more layers after that of lenders where an expat expert or a packager will be able to get access to those lenders and potentially find products that you're not easily going to find, certainly on comparison sites and places like that. Hope that was useful. That's Expat Mortgages, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.